All right. I think everything's working. I probably should have had something set up to check it. You get to check it with me on the screen. This is going to be some Inception level streaming bullshit. I always check, and I wasn't ready to check. I wasn't ready. It says I'm live. All right, perfect. Beep, beep. Whoop, whoop. Why you all in my ear? Okay, for those that don't know, I'm Chris. This is Phoenix Gaming. Before we dive into what the title is about, and I'm sure you've already figured it out, we are going to talk about some upcoming videos. I know I haven't been doing a lot outside of streaming lately, and that's because I've had a few projects that I've been working on with the kids, and we've been having a blast with that. That being said, one of the things I am working on is Eli and I are actually working on a Quar campaign, and we're going to record that and turn it into a full-on battle report. So that'll actually be like full edited video, not just the overhead view of a stream game, but full-on edited video. So that'll be neat, and that'll be a lot of fun. In addition to that, I've been trying to do weekly hobby streams. I missed last week or the week before. I missed 1 week, but I've been pretty spot on with those. I will be doing that tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, and I will be probably painting some Quar. So if you want to join me for a painting stream, you get to look and see how poorly I paint. Hooray. Other things I have coming up, I'm going to have a lot more streams because I tend to do my breakdowns in stream format so we can have kind of discussions. And I kind of look at them as a Q&A when I have people that are on it want to know why I do the things I do. I kind of take advantage of that time so that we can discuss it together and we could talk about, oh, well, why did you take this unit? Why did you do that? And in addition, it's just kind of fun to be derailed by everybody every once in a while. So there's also that aspect of it. So look forward to that. We're going to stream a list preview for my Old World tournament. There's an Old World tournament at the end of this month. I'm going to do a list preview stream for that. I've got a list preview stream for Adepticon coming up for Firefight. I'll be taking my Veerman, so if you're interested in seeing what I'm unpacking for that, join me for that. That'll probably be next week or the week after. You know, because Adepticon's at the end of March. The Firefight tournament's actually on my birthday, so that'll be cool. There's some other things I've got going on that I've been working on in the shadows, so to speak. I've been working on some campaign software and some other things like that. So once those are ready to be out in the wild, I'll release those out to the wild. I've got a universal score tracker app that I've been working on, and it's all web-based, and that should be just about ready to get put out into the wild. So that'll get put out there. Obviously, if you're a big 40k player, I don't expect 40k players to really give a shit about it because of tabletop battles and its ability to link with everything and be universal and have all the things that it has. But the two games I focused on immediately were Old World, because there's not really much for Old World score tracking, and then Firefight. And I know Firefight has some stuff that out there. I think it has some stuff out there. But the main thing was that it's for these kind of fringe games. And when I say fringe, that doesn't mean they're small or tiny or bad. Just they don't necessarily have that app support that a GW game would have. So I might incorporate bolt action and maybe conflict, things like that at some point. But right now it's just making sure everything's working and functional, and then it'll be out in the wild. And at that point, it'll just be you giving me feedback and me deciding whether or not I care. If we're being honest, you know, because not that everybody has bad ideas. I just, from personal experience, I know, myself included, everybody's a good idea fairy, but that doesn't mean everybody always has good ideas. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up, let everybody know why the videos have been primarily live streams and why I haven't put a ton of stuff out lately. Just a lot of projects going on, a lot of personal life stuff. We're almost at 1,300 subscribers. We've actually jumped up a lot of subscribers lately, and I appreciate that. so again, if you enjoy the content and if you want to see more, hit like, hit subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more game reviews and actual battle reports. Those will be very few and far between, though. Like, I'm probably only going to crank out 1 or 2 of those every month. And then everything else is going to be more on a stream basis where we do hobby hangouts, I do list breakdowns and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of tweaking the format of my channel to better fit my needs as a husband and father and everything else, that all the other hats I have to wear. I'm done talking about this now. We're going to move on. And we're gonna talk about what everybody wants to talk about, because if you're watching, you're not watching to hear me bullshit about that. You're here to hear me talk about some goddamn Warhammer. So let's talk about some goddamn Warhammer. I'm in a comp league, and when I say comp league, I mean we have some very strong local players in this league. It's not just some dude bros getting together playing Basement Hammer. And this doesn't mean it's the equivalent to an RTT. I'm just saying there's some high skilled players in here, and so I look forward to it because I've been dabbling back into 40k. It's been a pretty good time. I'm still doing Firefight quite a bit. Eli, my son, he and I have been playing a couple games, Hounds of War and Quar, so I've got a lot of projects. But anyway, I picked up Emperor's Children. I'm playing Emperor's Children in the league. And if you've never played with or against them, the easiest way to describe it to somebody is it's basically Drukhari in power armor. They're not as fast as Drukhari. There's obviously some differences, but they've got a similar feel to them in that they can kind of go fast. They kind of have some movement freedom that other armies might not have. And, the big thing is that they don't just die to a stiff breeze the way Dark Eldar do. So we're going to run through my list. We're going to run through my opponent's list, and then I'll try to pull up the game, and we'll kind of walk through the game a little bit. This is my second time playing him. His name's Austin. Super nice guy. We had a great time the first game. We had a good time the second game. I've had nothing but positive experiences with him. He's just been a pure joy to play with both times I was at the table with him. I have no complaints there at all. That being said, our mission was Purge the Foe. I brought Emperor's Children. He brought Tyranids. And my Emperor's Children list is, I don't know, I think it's kind of a meme list. I've had multiple people tell me I'm a psycho or an idiot or whatever word you want to use, because I'm just like, I'm going to play the Demon Soup detachment, and I'm going to bring a Keeper of Secrets. And I've had some comp players who play Emperor's Children tell me I'm crazy, and I'm just like, I don't care, man. I'm gonna bring it. I love it. I'm doing it because it's fun, and it might not be the most efficient, but I also don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. We're gonna kind of touch on that. So obviously I've got Fulgrim. I didn't buy Emperor's Children to not run Fulgrim. I don't know how else to say it, because that was another one of those units that people have been like, oh, Fulgrim's so bad, why would you bring him outside of the one detachment that really supports him? Bro, because he's funny. Like, that's why. Let's look at him real quick, because he's funny. He's hilarious. So we're going to look at him. First of all, he moves 16 inches. He does fly, which isn't as relevant this edition as it has been in editions past. He does have a round base for all the, like, pivoting bullshit, so that's important. His range attack, he gets 6 shots with sustained hits 1, hits on 2, strength 8, neg 2, 2 damage. So the big thing here is in the demon detachment, if a demon and an Emperor's Children unit are within 6 inches of each other, they both get sustained hits. Period, end of discussion. So all their attacks gain sustained hits 1. If you already have sustained hits, then your sustained hits trigger on 5s. And it doesn't say you crit on 5s, it just says your sustained hits trigger on 5s. And that's an important distinction, because if you had like lethals, they wouldn't also trigger on 5s. So just keep that in mind. It's the sustained hits specifically trigger on 5s. So with this Malefic Lash, he throws 6 dice hitting on 2s, which means you're going to average 5 hits. Because 6 dice, you're only going to average 1-1. But that also means you're going to average 1-5 and 1-6. So you're actually going to average 7 hits on 6 dice at strength 8, neg 2, 2 damage. And because he can poison things, He's going to poison whatever he shoots at, and it's funny. I think it's hilarious. That being said, it's not a world beater. It is very good at killing Marines, though, or even into things like Tyranid Warriors, things where you're wounding on 3s or 2s, and then pushing them either to a very like 5-up or 6-up save, or even just turning their save off altogether is fine. And the 2 damage is the threshold that really matters here, because again, failed save is a dead Marine body. Melee weapons, and this is really what he's all about, right? He's about bashing butts and mixing guts. A big throwback to my old TK days. I really do need to bring that back. We'll see. So again, with demonic blades, when he strikes, it's still 6 attacks. So you're still, if you're within 6 inches of a demon unit, averaging 7 hits. At strength 14, neg 3, d6 plus 1. So again, very good. When you're averaging 7 hits on 6 attacks, that's very good. Demonic blades on the sweep, the math comes out basically 14 hits. Like, it just doubles because you're doubling. And it's still Marine killers. Like, you're still just, like, massacring things. Let's see. Extra attacks, blah, 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 blah. Number of attacks cannot be modified by other rules unless that weapon's... Okay. But it's got the tail. It's just 6 dice. Like, whatever. Nobody cares. The tail's not what you're doing for it. I just had to reread the extra attack. Sorry about that. Abilities. So he does Deep Strike. I haven't used it yet. I want him on the board. He can advance and charge, because that's the army rule. You advance and fall back and shoot and charge. There's some caveats to it. It does require specific orders of operations, which is why I kind of feel like they remind me of Dark Eldar, because especially early on, they had some kind of specific order of operations things that you needed to do, not because of their rules, but just because of how they played. And then in the shooting and the fight phase, after you finish making attacks, he poisons a unit. In each player's command phase, you roll a die for each poisoned unit. On a 4-up, they take a D3 mortals. And then he can pick one of 3 abilities in your opponent's command phase, and then he can move over terrain whenever he makes a normal advance or fallback move, as long as it's 4 inches or less in height. You can either make a -1 to hit, and that's in all phases. You can give him fight first, and then you can do some like prevent fallback shenanigans with him. I will be honest with you, I don't think I've ever used that ability. It's either been -1 to hit, or it's been fight first. It's never been battle shock or you can't fall back. There's a couple reasons for that. One, I could just give him fight first, so I don't give a shit if you fall back. Like, I can kind of plan for that. Now, there are probably situations where I still wouldn't want you to fall back. Maybe you want to fall back to shoot me without a -1 to hit penalty. But at that point, there's a good chance I would just want a -1 to hit him anyway, right? And not only that, I just have found that battle shocks are not an extremely consistent ability to rely on. You get things like Incubi and Demonettes who battle shock in the fight phase, whoop-de-doo. Like, most armies, you're making that at least half the time. More than half the time, really. So it's one of those things where it's just like, whatever, man, I don't care. He has to be your warlord. So again, so the big thing is 16-inch movement, fly, advance, charge, move over terrain. Like, those are the big things here. He hits pretty darn well. Sure, if I slam him into like a Mortarion or anything like that, there's a good chance that it doesn't kill him. I don't care. That's not its role. For me, what Fulgrim does is I can torpedo him into those things that are harassing me or are a danger to the rest of my army. Mortarion is scary, for example, but I wouldn't send Fulgrim at Mortarion. I would try to just feed him one unit at a time while Fulgrim went around and took out things like the Death Shroud, or if you've got like a Plague Burst Crawler or things like that, where it's like, okay, you can just sit it back there and you can just like snipe me with this tank. Well, cool, I'm going to just torpedo Fulgrim back there. We're going to take care of that. You know, I've played probably 5 games with this army, maybe 6 since I picked it up, because I had to do a lot of Dark Eldar stuff at the start of the year. And I don't think there's a single game where Fulgrim didn't end up in my opponent's deployment zone. And if my opponent had Defend Stronghold, for example, there was a lot of, at least 3 of those 5 games, I was able to get back there and shut it down because of Fulgrim being able to jump over terrain, advance and shoot and charge, things like that. So he's a very good utility unit with a lot of damage output and some decent durability. And that's where I kind of see Fulgrim is like, okay, I don't need him to go be a world beater, because I have Flawless Blades that can take care of things. I have Noise Marines are surprisingly good at killing stuff. You know, so like I have these other units that can do it. Demonettes are actually pretty solid at putting chip damage on things. So I have all these different tools for damage output. Is Fulgrim good at putting damage out? Absolutely. But if I can get him in your deployment zone and be disruptive that way, that's even better. That's kind of where I see him. Then I've got the Keeper of Secrets. She has the Aegis mostly because I don't read. I didn't realize that the Aegis doesn't give her the Feel No Pain anymore. It gives her a 3-up save. And I will tell you that if I were to do it all over again, I would probably give her like the Whip, or probably the Whip. And maybe the other thing. What is it? Not the sword. You can give her the Whip or a Ritual Knife. I'd probably give her one of those. She's got the Warp Walker. Basically, each time she advances, she auto-advances 6, which I always forget about. I always end up rolling it. She auto-advances 6. She can make a normal advance or fallback move that goes over enemy models. So basically, she can just ignore enemy models. And she doesn't have to make any desperate escape test for it or anything like that. So it gives her some flexibility of movement also. Especially with a 1 CP advance and charge for demon units in this detachment. And it was very relevant this game specifically. And again, I also rolled it forgetting that she had auto 6. So she could just move 20, right? I get it. She's only strength 6, strength 8, depending on, you know, which profile. Like with the claws, she's strength 6. With the Witstealer sword, she's strength 8. She does get her own AP aura. So yes, it's neg 2, but because she's within her own aura, it's neg 3. She is fantastic for Terminators and Warriors and things like that. Where it's like, okay, you can have a 4-up invuln. I'm going to throw enough dice at you that we're going to see how many you can make. And if you fail one, you're picking it up. Like, I'm just not messing with it. You're just picking up that model. That's what you're doing. So it's one of those kind of interesting things. She's very good at anti-infantry type stuff. Not the best into vehicles, you know, like higher toughness stuff. But again, if she's within 6 inches of an Emperor's Children unit, like she's netting extra hits. So like her Witstealer sword goes from averaging 5 hits to actually averaging 6 hits. Like that one doesn't sound like a lot, but it can shift your wound rate too. You know, because you're, again, it's, I'm looking at it as it makes it better over time. You know, if I get 3 turns out of her and I get 0.3% efficiency increase on her wound rate, that's a full wound more, but that's 3 damage more. And she usually does die by turn 3, but part of that's because of how I play her, and I know it. So I'm not like, oh, she's trash because she dies quickly. It's actually the opposite. She dies quickly because she's surprisingly tanky because she's always -1 to hit. The 4-up invuln, she's T10, Fulgrim's T11. And then you couple that with the fact that, was she 18 wounds? Yeah, 18 wounds. So she's surprisingly resilient. And the -1 to hit is actually a hell of a lot more relevant than people realize. Demonettes, I love them in this detachment. They are nutty. So, that hasn't changed. You know, I've got my Demonettes, my Noise Marines, all that jazz. It's actually here. I was looking at the wrong one. That was a different list. Everything else is the same. But I was like, wait, there's only 2 Demonettes here. So we got 3 squads of demonettes, a squad of infractors, a squad of tormentors. Tormentors are sticky objective, and they have a melta gun and a plasma gun with precision, so it's funny. Infractors, I don't know. They scout, like, they're just a utility unit. But demonettes, man, if you've got a full 10 going into something, it's 40 dice, hitting on 3s with sustained hits and dev wounds at strength 4. You're going to roll enough dice that you're going to get something through. 2 units chaos spawn, chaos terminators. The terminators have kind of been a mixed bag. Part of that is, I don't know, man. Terminators are just weird to me, at least the chaos ones. I don't have any complaints about them, but I don't really feel like they've been standing out very much either. Like, they've just been kind of meh. And it could just be the way I'm playing them. A lot of games I shouldn't say that. Because a lot of games I deep strike them, I rapid ingress them, and then I can advance them, shoot them, and then charge them. And if all my shooting weapons target a unit, I get to reroll charges into them. So they've been good utility units. They're just kind of expensive for a utility unit, but they're still 3 wounds, T5, 4 up invuln. So I can't bitch. I still have 2 units of flawless blades. In a perfect world, I'd have probably brought 1 unit of 6 instead of 2 units of 3, but I don't care enough to change it. And then 3 units of noise marines. And like I said, noise marines have been surprisingly good. And part of that is because of the detachment. With them getting ignore, cover, and sustained hits, they've been surprisingly good. And I've actually found that I have a variety of tools for a variety of jobs with this list. When I first put it on the table, I was like, I don't know. This seems kind of weird. I played a few games and it was like, okay. But as I've played more games, I've kind of learned how to sync things up better and kind of get them working in unison more. Because Noise Marines give a -1 to their Battle Shock tests. And then Demonettes make you roll Battle Shock in the fight phase. So it's one of those, like, I'm now learning to keep Demonettes and Noise Marines kind of close by so they can both get sustained hits. But then I can also stack that -1 with the mandatory Demonette Battle Shock. So it's one of those, I'm starting to kind of figure things out as I play more and realize how I can have them work in tandem and work together. Overall, like I said, no complaints. We're going to go over Austin's list. This is not his exact list because we are allowed to change lists in the league, which is why I wouldn't call it like a super comp league. You know, it's people are allowed to change lists. It's more for like casual and competitive players to just try different things against different things. And it's an excuse for everybody to get out and play and roll some dice, man, which is always good. So that being said, this isn't too different. And where I notice things are different, I'll try to call it out a little bit and be like, this is what he had instead. Like, he didn't have 2 Broodlords when I played him. He had a Winged Tyranid Prime and a unit of Warriors. He did have hyper-adapted Raveners, but he only had 1 unit of them instead of 2. And then instead of a unit of Hormagaunts, I think he had a unit of Hormagaunts and 1 or 2 units of Termagaunts, so he had a bit more chaff. The Biovore's the same, the Exocrine's the same, the Maliceptor's the same. He had 1 unit of Gene Stealers, now he has 3 units of Gene Stealers. The Norn was there. Again, he had 1 brick of Raveners instead of 2, and he had Vine Ryan's Leapers. I don't know all the differences outside of this, outside of what I've already said. I don't think what he had... Oh, he had a unit of Gargoyles. I don't think what he had was a bad list. I think what he had was actually a pretty solid list. I think one of the big issues is he ran into a really tough matchup. You know, his only real shooting support was the Exocrine and the Maliceptor, and the things that he wanted to shoot were -1 to hit. So it's pushing his stuff to hit on 4s instead of 3s. They're only like strength 9, so it's wounding on 5s. So it just dropped his efficiency a lot. So he didn't really have much of an answer for Fulgrim and the Keeper outside of the Norn. And really, he's going to declare an objective for the Norn, and I can just send the Fulgrim and the Keeper basically everywhere else. And that was effectively my plan. So let's pull up the old score. We'll walk through this real quick. My goal is to be done by 1:45 at the latest. So, game. All right. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. So round one, I did go first. He had put his Von Ryan's Leapers. He put them on, what was our mission? Purge the foe, and was it, here's our, okay, Hammer and Anvil. Hammer and Anvil, purge the foe. And he put his, I don't know if I can make it. Put it here. Perfect. So he put his Leapers kind of on this objective here. And I had put my Infractors right up here because they had a scout move. So it was like, all right, what I can do is I can scout them up. And then if I don't go first, I can scout them back and get at least behind cover. He might be able to get line of sight with his Exocrine, but I can at least get behind cover because there is a big shooting lane diagonally across the board there. It was like, all right, I at least have that option. Well, I ended up going first. I got to scout move. I got to move like 2 or 3 inches because of where he was. And then on the start of my turn, I got to advance my Infractors up, sit on the objective, and then I controlled it. Now, my keeper, I put basically right here where the arrow is. And then she moves 20 because I can advance and charge her. So she came all the way out to basically like right here. And it was just like, all right, dude, I'm going to charge some Von Ryan's Leapers, and we're going to see how this goes. So she charged in. And she shit on them. And it's one of those, I haven't played against Tyranids outside of my buddy Tyler in a while. So I forget how that army works. Because I assume most detachments don't have army-wide invulns. And the only people I play against are one of the locals. He plays a lot of invuln-heavy bugs. And then Tyler, who just kind of plays like I do. Like, he just plays what he likes, and he's hopeful that he's at least skilled enough to make it work. So that being said, she shit on them. You know, neg 3 damage. She just tore through them. And then she was just kind of stuck there. So he moved his Exocrine out. I think that's what it was. Whichever one looks like the dog wiener. I think that's the Exocrine. Moved the Exocrine out, moved a brick, and I mean a brick of warriors out. And shot at her, -1 to hit, didn't do a single damage because it was hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s. Maleceptor and Exocrine both just whiffed into her. Warriors came in and threw a bucket of dice, and it was all twin linked, and -1 to hit probably still saved her ass. You know, because I think when it was all said and done, he knocked her down to like 3 or 4 wounds. So now I'm hitting on 3s instead of 2s, but I still have my sustains. So she proceeded to just massacre most of that unit of warriors, pulled him out of combat after that, and just let her kind of like free reign wherever she wanted to go. That was like turn 1. I did score overwhelming force because I killed the Leapers. And then I did get established locus in the middle of the board. I forget what unit I put up there, but I threw a unit out there to just grab it and hope for the best. You know, sometimes you just got to let Jesus take the wheel. He pulled assassination and mark for death. He didn't score either. And then turn 2, I pulled storm hostile objective, which I got. And then I pulled no prisoners. Oh, I remember what happened. So I ended up, on my turn, I didn't kill a whole unit, or I killed 1 whole unit. And we have to look this up. So if you know, just let me know in the comments. But it was one of those where we got to a point where I was like, if I can discard it instead of score it, I'll discard it for the command point. Because, like, I don't need the 2 points for no prisoners. I don't give a shit. Like, if I lose the game by 2 points, oh well, I should have been better. But so he was just like, honestly, I don't want to take the time to look it up. You can just take the command point. We'll figure it out later. And then we never revisited it. So if you know off the top of your head whether or not you're allowed to discard an objective that you would score at the end of your turn for a command point, let me know in the comments. In my head, it makes sense because it's my turn, so I choose the order in which things resolve. So I would assume I get to choose to discard it before I choose to score it. But if that's incorrect, let me know. That being said, turn 2, again, I was able to move that Keeper of Secrets, but this time, let's scroll back real quick. So this time, though, I was able to bring her back all the way to here. And then I got to charge that big brick of Raveners. Now, she didn't kill a lot. Her being bracketed and then also not in sustained hit range kind of hampered her, but I still ripped through like half the squad of Raveners and really just hampered their combat efficiency. And it was like, I think it was Raveners, like the character and the regular Raveners all bunched up together. So it was a lot. So she still killed 6 models. I'm not bitching. And then she died in the clapback. So again, turn 2, she's dead. I don't care. She more than made up for her points. She killed the Von Ryan's Leapers. She tore ass into a unit of warriors. And then she came and killed half a squad of Raveners. And really, it was technically like a whole squad. It was just not the character squad, right? Like, she killed most of the base squad. So I have no complaints because she has already wreaked her havoc. And in addition to that, she has soaked multiple rounds of shooting now because of the -1 to hit. Like, she's just like, no. And don't get me wrong, like one of the things I do want to stress is part of it is just dice. This is a dice game. I got lucky when she swung into the leapers round 1. I think I rolled like 3 6s and a 5. Like, her base 6 attacks ended up being like 10 hits. It was absurd. So like, there is some luck into that. The 5 didn't matter, but again, you get what I'm saying. Like, there is some luck involved. It's a dice game. There's always luck involved. But by the time she died, she had done enough damage that I don't think he would have had a very easy time coming back. I didn't even have to use Fulgrim. She had done so much that Fulgrim didn't really come out to play until turn 2 or 3. And then he was just doing cleanup and just tearing ass through what was left. You know, he did get Display of Might. He was able to score that. He did get Engage on front. All fronts, he was able to score that. But then we got to turn 3, and that's where the game really started to, like, wind down for him. I got, the Gamma unit for Mark for Death. I got Little Recover Assets. And then this is where my Purge the Foe points really started coming in, because I scored all of them. And then he did get no prisoners capped. But then turn 4, you can see I was able to get little or medium engage and then 1 unit for behind. And it was just, like I said, like at that point, he was hemorrhaging units. He was bleeding them fast. And one of the other turning points of this game, I think it was turn 3. I didn't kill a unit of Gene Stealers, but I crippled the piss out of it. So a lot of the way I had set up my deployment zones, knowing he didn't have much shooting, was I put a row of Demonettes and then Noise Marines. And then Demonettes and then Noise Marines. So if he wanted to come in, he had to crash into Demonettes. And Demonettes were going to get to do their damage first. So even if the Gene Stealers crash into the Demonettes, I'm going to get my sustains because the Noise Marines are right behind them. And then I'm going to get my fight first, right? So I'm going to get my damage in. So even if he squad wipes the Demonettes, they're going to do their damage and they're going to pick up some Gene Stealers, and then we're going to reduce the combat efficiency of that unit. And that's a good trade for me, because Demonettes are cheap. Yes, they die quickly. Yes, they die easily, but they're cheap and they are deceptively dangerous. And that's exactly what happened. But instead of charging into the Demonettes, what ended up happening was I actually leapfrogged with one, like my Noise Marines, leapfrogged the Demonettes with the Noise Marines, got them in a terrain feature, and then shot out at something. Well, then I had positioned my Demonettes so that if he came in, they could countercharge. What's that called? Heroic intervention, whatever. Yeah, I think that's it. So he ended up charging, but because I was in the feature, it was unlocked. I could overwatch him, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and overwatch because these are 2 damage guns. They're gonna have sustained hits. Every hit's gonna be 2 hits. Like, even if I only kill a couple coming in, I spike. Like I did. I think I got like 3 or 4 hits, but that's actually like 6 to 8 hits. So I killed like 3 Gene Stealers coming in, 2 Gene Stealers coming in, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking Overwatch, like, that's not terrible. He makes the charge. I intervene with Demonettes. Demonettes basically shit the rest of the squad off the board outside of like one Gene Stealer and a Broodlord. And then they get to fight my Noise Marines, and they kill like a couple Noise Marines. And then by the end of the turn, like I said, I don't think I killed the whole squad of Demonettes or a whole squad of Gene Stealers. But what I did do was just cripple them to the point where it's like, all right, well, they're no longer a threat because I can just like shoot at them, and I can even charge them with some bullshit, and I don't have to worry as much. They're not going to crash into something and just squad wipe. And that was another big turning point. Because at that point, like I said, a lot of his major threats were gone. The Maleceptor had fallen to Fulgrim by turn 3 or 4. The Exocrine was still on the board, but it didn't really have much to shoot at. And then, you know, I was at this point, like, getting into the lictors, things like that. Like by turn 5, by the end of turn 5, I think he had just the Exocrine. Like, the Exocrine was the only thing he had left on the table. It only had a few wounds left. And, you know, it was one of those, like, I forget what. Let's look at the objective. Oh, turn 5. He was like, well, you could sabotage with Fulgrim and get your extra points, because I had decided to come back and then charge into the Norn. And I was like, I could, but I didn't bring Fulgrim to sit back here and sabotage, right? Like, that was a conversation we have already had in this stream. I brought Fulgrim to bash butts, so he's going to go bash butts. And at this point, the Norn was almost dead anyway. And so my thinking was less about, well, I'm going to score 3 extra points, and more about, because it just shut off his ability to score. And so, like, to me, denial is just as important as scoring. And the 3 points I don't think would have mattered at that point. And honestly, the denial probably wouldn't have mattered. Like, I could have just said, okay, cool, we can just end the game now. Because as you can see, like, there was nothing he was going to do to come back at that point. He did score what he could that turn. But ultimately, it was just the writing was on the wall. I wasn't stressing about the 3 points I would have lost from sabotage. And I think the reason I ended up doing it was to cap cleanse. I think that was the big thing. Like, I could have gotten 2 points on cleanse and 6 points on sabotage, or I could have gotten 5 points on cleanse and 3 points on sabotage because of how the positioning ended up panning out. And to me, it was just like, all right, well, let's go kill the Norn and get my 3 points here. So, that being said, overall, like I said, I had a great time with him. And I think we are now 1-1 into each other. So that's cool too. And my next round pairing has already been posted. Let's find that. Here it is. It's Blood Angels, it's Rage Cursed Onslaught, which I don't really know much about. My understanding is they just get bonus attacks, and then if they're Battle Shocked, they get extra bonus attacks. It's not like the other Blood Angels detachment where they get extra strength and bonus attacks on the charge. Instead, they get reroll wounds of 1 and extra attacks. That sounds right. I've not played against this detachment. It looks par for the course. It's just like Bricks of Death Company. Like, he's got some intercessors, assault intercessors, so I got to look out for the Hammer of Wrath or whatever it's called. He's got a Ball Predator, which has got a Flamestorm cannon. I don't know what that is. But I'm just seeing, like, Death Company. A lot of Power Fists, right? Death Company. And then 3 big bricks of Sangard. So what I'm seeing is another game where I'm basically going to be going, all right, here's my Demonettes. Here's my Noise Marines. You want to crash into me, I'm going to let you crash into Demonettes. They might not squad wipe you, but they're going to do damage. And then you might squad wipe them, but then is that a good trade for you? Are you willing to sacrifice 230 points worth of Death Company to kill like 90 points worth of Demonettes? And if not, that's fine, because I don't mind crashing into you with things because it's going to hurt. Like the Keeper, if she gets into the Death Company first, it's going to hurt a lot more because she should kill probably 4 to 5 of them on average with all of her attacks. She gets like what, like 14, 12, 14 attacks, something like that total. And if she's in sustained range, you know, yeah, they've got to feel no pain, but them being 3 damage attacks means I'm still going to average killing 1. Every wound is still, or every failed save should average killing 1 Marine. You know, so she can still cripple that unit. And then, you know, I don't know if I think they reroll hits, if I remember right. So Death Company still be pretty spicy, but wounding on 5s is going to cut a lot of that, like, efficiency down, you know. And then Noise Marines are still going to be Noise Marines. Like, I am really impressed with them, and I'm really surprised at how well they have performed, both in this detachment and overall. Again, looking at my round 1, I played against that guy Steven, and I'm an idiot, and I only put like 9 Noise Marines on the board because I was running them in units of 3 instead of units of 6, and they were still like, oh, okay, these are okay. So units of 6, they've just been the bee's knees, so I have no gripes there. So that's going to wrap us up. I'm glad that I got to hang out with everybody and talk to everybody about this. Time for me to hit the gym, and then I got some cleanup to do. We're going to do Hobby Hangout, reminder tomorrow. Another reminder, subscribe, like, all that jazz. And yeah, thanks, man. We'll see you next week and tomorrow. Both. We'll see you. We'll see you.